All right, we got something missing here, and it's that time to finally get this little bit more repair on this truck. Doors are fully done. We still have to do some repair here and across the lower. That's going to be weather depending. Basically, pulling the bed, it's pretty normal for some of these trucks in the Northeast to have rust like this. I am going to be replacing this with a nicer one that does not have any rust to it, so we'll be fixing that. It's basically descaled, wire brushed, cleaned everything up, put a nice coat of what I like to use is engine black paint. It seems like it's a pretty good laster there. While we have this off, we're able to get access to our upper shock bolts. So we have a set of Bilstein, I believe they're 5100s to put on here. So we're going to get those installed, and then we have an occasional issue with our fuel sending unit. So when this is off, we're going to drop this tank down and try to get to the sending unit, which I probably shouldn't do this. It's pretty full of gas. And get that out and probably reinstall a new pump that we have from another vehicle that, well, is a lot nicer than this. So we're going to get that taken care of. But our main reason what we're doing here is we're getting ready to remove the bedside. I cut this. I'm getting ready to cut the bedside back to get it ready for install of the replacement bedside because of all this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here. I'm going to cut across here. Then I'm going to be able to grab all the plastics that hold these on. You got to squeeze them together. We'll get that removed. We'll have our whole side removed. I'm going to come up in here and cut on the inside of the wheel well, and you know, just kind of work it that way. There is some rust down here, but we're going to be removing this along this here. We're going to pull this off and then across the top. I do already have a good bit of the replacement side sitting out here. There's rust in between here, and you can see where it's rusting. There was some on this, but we're going to clean this down and we're going to coat everything inside for this. We're going to trim a piece off here and a piece off there, but we have a nice white bedside all but ready to be installed. And basically we're trimming this down to get to that point. I'll try to throw in, I am no body man by any means. This is the second one I ever did, so you know, when you do stuff yourself, you save a lot of money, and sometimes it's not perfect and sometimes you learn. But we're actually pretty good at this, doing this type of stuff, because like I said, we have a good understanding of what's happening. So we're going to cut this off. Like I said, we're going to come down through here. We're going to cut through here because it's not connected. And then we'll cut down through here. We've got a line. All right. So that'll remove this large section here. And we're going to do the same here. I'm probably just going to come and cut out here because this has a support bar. So I'll just come down in here somewhere. And then that way we can remove this, and then I'll come up inside and I'll cut that piece. And then it's down to trying to drill spot welds, grind spot welds, just get everything prepped. But as soon as we get this cut off, I'll show you the next step that I'm going to do. All right, so one step closer here. This is what I was talking about. So this is put together here. So we have these welds here that we're going to grind, and then we're going to take the seam off here. All right, then here you can see this is the part that we're going to remove, this front piece, because that's actually damaged also. And that'll be this whole support that comes down over here. Looks like it's going to be right here. These are going to have to come off right there. Till I get this trimmed out more and see exactly what I have to remove, so everything goes back together the way that I want it to go. Because the plan is we're keeping this, but we want to replace this here. Okay, so we're going to have to come here, I guess, and we'll cut down along here along with removing this, and then we'll get this whole piece off. All right, is what's going to end up happening. And then we'll grind from the back, and then basically everything will fit in, and none of these spot welds here are going to look like they were damaged at all, the way that we're going to be reassembling this, because we're going to come from this side. All right, let's get this done. Next, let's get this off. All right, so we got the top strip off. Like I said, we got all these spot welds here around. I went a little too far on this one, but we got all them. Got this. This is kind of what it'll look like. See your holes, and then we got the piece off. We ground down these spot welds. There's many ways you can do that. You can drill them. You can use a cutoff wheel, like one of these. This is what I'm using now. They have these. There is spot weld cutters where you can actually put a pin, and then it'll actually, it's like a little saw blade, and it'll actually cut around the outside edge. This for me just seems to be pretty fast. Even when you cut them off, then you got to go back and regrind these anyway. These will just need gently cleaned up along with everything else in here. We're going to get all this extra dirt out. So we're going to separate this piece here now. So basically we're going to go down underneath, and everywhere there's a spot weld, we're just going to grind through like we did on the top, and then we can separate this piece. And then I'm going to have to get something to set this on here on this side, probably a jack stand, and then we can lift this up. We'll put the jack stands under it. We'll get this front piece here separated off. Shouldn't be too bad. Up here we got a drill. We got a couple here, we got 3. We got a drill here on the top, looks like. And then we'll come down here. We'll grind every single one of these right here on this all the way down through. Get this front section off. All right, well, we're making sure we're taking care of this. We have our glasses, dust mask, and I've got hearing protection on currently. So here we go. We need to remove this piece. We have this all removed, and you can see we have some in here, but we're gonna have to get in here and grind all that off, and then recoat this on this inner fender well and get everything nice and cleaned up. Looks like the outside one's gonna need that also, but right now currently we're at the point where we're gonna start getting all of these spot welds here so we can remove this piece. We do still have to drill these 3 here. Maybe we can grind them from the bottom. We'll have to try it, see what happens. Not sure how that's going to fit up. And then we still got to come back and we got to do the rear section here. So we still have plenty of work. All right, so we're down to this one little piece. Like I said, I got to drill these out. But everything come off, man. We had some serious rust. Well, not serious, but rust starting here. So I'm gonna have to tape this off and then grind that clean, and we'll have to coat that. More you find, just makes you wonder what's all over here on this side. But you can kind of see, there's the piece from that side. All right. So I ended up cutting that outer edge off so it was out of the way. Like I said, you trim it down, and you can work on sections at a time instead of pulling the whole piece. And it just makes removing the stuff a whole lot easier. You know, you just gotta be careful. You do create some sharp edges, but you know, our main structure of our bed is good. If you would have bought this new, we would have had to buy each one of those separate pieces, I believe, here in the front. All 3 of these here to assemble that. I've never had a new bed, so bedside, so I'm not sure how they come, but I don't think that it would come with all of that inner structure. And the fact that that was damaged from the hit, we needed to replace that. So now we're going to get on to figuring out what we want to do here with this. We're going to work on getting this outer piece here out of the way first, and then working our way down in. So let's see how this works out. All right, well, we got everything trimmed off, and it's actually, this is a dry, what you would call a dry fit. That lined up. I'm just going to go off of the paint mark, which I was really worried about making sure that that was there. So we have that. So basically what we have to do is we'll pull this thing off. And then we'll clean up all of our surfaces the rest of the way. I did get some of it taken care of. And then the inner wheel well where it was damaged, we're going to coat that stuff. I have this Eastwood, what do they call it? Rust something inhibitor, blah, blah, blah stuff, coating. So we'll coat anything inside of here that looks like it's going to need it. And then we're going to get this thing attached. Once that's done, it's going to need some time to dry. We might even throw some extra heat on it, depending on what the temperature is tomorrow and the dry times, because we're going to be using 3M panel bond adhesive in the gun. All right, so we'll probably use the rest of this to get this stuck on there with a new tip. I don't know how much is in here yet, but I think I pulled this out to show it to somebody. Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, so this is what we're going to be using. We're going to glue this on here. We're going to clamp everything. I got bolts, that self-tappers that I'm going to be using to get everything held down into place. And man, I'll probably end up screwing into here too. That way everything is good. We'll let this stuff dry, and as soon as that's done, I mean, other than cleaning this thing up, there's not really any body work that's going to need to be done the way that I did this. And we're just going to be down to getting everything prepped, getting all the paint on, and, well, painting it and then getting it back on the truck. So it's going to be a pretty easy setup. Yeah, it had some pinstripe on here, so I got to work on getting the rest of that mess cleaned off of here. And then, man, I am excited. We had some grindings get down in there because this thing was sitting upside down, but I'm excited to get this thing painted and put on my truck. All right, we have everything prepped. I hit this with the saw blade, so we coated that. Anywhere I thought I need to clean and coat it, we ground everything here. We coated all that. There was a couple spots up here I hit. All right, then just kind of shoved it down in. Actually did some in underneath, put it up in the areas. We have the whole bedside here. There was a couple spots here, but I kind of went a little crazy and just kind of spread it around. But the back side of this, well, there was a spot here, so we did that. Everything else is ground up pretty clean. I'm going to try to get in here and get some of this out, these holes, with a wire brush before I go putting the glue on. But my main concern was the back side of this and trying to get as much shoved down into here. I actually did have it standing up, and, well, dripped it on the concrete there, but I was able to clean it up with some brake cleaner right away. And then there was a couple spots here where I know I'm going to be down past, and then there were some spots where trying to get the grinder in here, I hit this side of it. But everything now should hopefully have a good enough coating on it. I mean, will it stop it from rusting? You cross your fingers and you hope. At least you made an attempt to try to do it. So our next step right now is basically I got to dig out some self-tappers, all the vice grips, and I'm going to come over here and we're going to just basically squeeze that stuff out of the gun, and I'm just going to spread it around everywhere there's bare metal and just get a nice coating of it on all this, here, here, and here. And I'm going to do the same on this side also. I think we got a good bit of working time. I'm getting ready to look up the PDF sheet on that, or the MDS, or whatever it's called, but we're going to hit all this. That's all good and ground everywhere on this. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to set it down. I'm going to get these bolts started here. I got some bolts to start back there, and we're going to make sure everything's lined up and, you know, get it together. I did shove some back in here. This right here was pretty hard to get kind of flat, so we're just going to cross our fingers and hope for the best on that one. I probably should have showed a little bit more of the process, but as this goes, it's on. Okay, everything bolted in, lined up really nice. It was off just a little bit here, but everything else, everywhere else, is where it needs to be. I had to clamp this. I ended up using some brushes. I wish I would have had something a little bit thicker. And then down in here, we've got a bunch of clamps. And up there you can see we've got clamps kind of where the sun's coming through. Up through for that part. I ended up using another clamp there. Wish I had something to do this, but it all seems like it's right where it needs to be. Could probably go down just a little bit, but got the bar on. Everything just, you know, hopefully when it's on, looks good enough. You know, oh, we got one dent there. See it right there. That could have been from coming apart. The rest of it is pretty freaking nice, right? This stuff has a 24-hour dry time, and then we can unclamp everything, and it's done. So at that point, tomorrow hopefully we can put some color on this. I can actually start addressing some of this and getting other stuff cleaned up and actually ready for paint now. As cool as it is when you do it like this. I'm gonna get the one in here for the cable, or it's actually the latch. This is for the cable. But man, happy, very happy. All right, well, we got everything moved out of here. We are set up. We have some paint ready to go here. Let's take a look. Okay, so everything is cleaned up, taped up, and ready to be sprayed. I went down along through here. So it's gonna be fun. One bug, man. This is actually a pretty nice day today. Hopefully the temperatures are not too bad. A little bit of a breeze, which I kind of like, which helps with overspray not laying. But we'll see how this turns out. I'll show you when it's shiny. I'm not exactly sure what the color match is or how close it's going to be once everything's sitting on here, but from what this was pretty amazing. Now, different temperatures when you're spraying different. When you get too heavy, I don't know if you can pick them out. We got a run here we're going to have to shave off. Then we ended up with a bug that decided it had to land here and run down. We had a lot of little tiny gnats that decided they had to get in here. Here's two more. There's another one. This here actually came out pretty good. I thought that was going to be worse. I thought I seen, it looked like there was, right here's a little tiny dent. But, I mean, overall, like, everything's got good coverage, you know, up through here. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this dry. We're going to get it installed. And yeah, look at that saggy run there. That'll be fun. What I'll end up doing is I'll end up cutting the runs out and some of that, and just kind of trying to knock that down a little bit, and seeing exactly how the color really looks in comparison to the other stuff that's on the truck, and go from there. I mean, you can see it's plenty glossy. Look at the, I mean, hopefully you can see I'm standing in here. You can see the camera in my hand. But we'll take care of those little things. Basically just get this thing back on, and it's just so much nicer having this. I was always having a fight with my gas cap because of, look, there's a little one there running, landing on there and taking off. I don't know what it is with these little bugs right now currently. They are everywhere. All right, well, it's blue. We'll get it on. We'll get a little bit more video. All right, so I'm doing some other work, which is why I have my bed off. But I'm taking this opportunity because if you actually need to try to get in here to this inner nut to hold it for the upper shock, it's really tough. I've seen guys, they'll actually drill like a hole through the inner, and then they'll take a wrench, they'll heat it, and they'll bend it so they can reach around and hold this in place so that they can remove it. But right now I'm taking advantage of that because, well, I don't have a bed on. Imagine trying to get that off. Well, I can tell you one thing. I'm sure I got this bed off. I'm going to put the wrench on here, and I'm going to grab a 1/2-inch drive impact and a long rod to break this loose. Wow. All right, so these shocks are 2018s and they have 130 on them. So that's another reason why we're doing this upgrade. Let's get the bottoms off. Okay, so if we ever have to change these again, we're going to have anti-seize on our bolt threads. We're going to make them come out really easy. All right, we totally have the other side completed, and we got our upper out on this side, which this one came out a lot easier. So let me get down here. This way you can kind of see. I always like to get a start on the nut, and then if the bolt spins, then I'll grab it. Now, so we can see, wow, that was way too easy. Now we have this. What a big difference. So I have the lower started, and I'm going to try and get this thing pushed down. It's pretty tough on the other side. Really hope this gets rid of all my bounce that I end up with. Okay, so got it tapped into place. And this is what I'm going to do to get everything lined in. Just a flat head. Comes up. We need to go back just a little bit. We're gonna go up. We're lined up here. We're gonna paint our brush our bolt. Now these bolts are pointed to help guide them through the holes and to get everything lined up. So all I'm going to do is exactly the opposite. I'm going to tighten the bottom and then tighten the top. And we have a nice little shock upgrade. The next thing I got to do is swap out this rusty fill neck here. Alright, so we just pulled everything, including the sensor. This truck was in 2018 that this was removed from. It only had 65,000 miles on it, so we're already putting some much nicer stuff on here. So let's just do it all the way. Let's get this clamp tightened up. Now we also have to connect the ground down here. There's a wire that comes off of this that connects to the body. I assume it's for like static charge. So let's get that connected. Alright, so I had to use a battery and find the right location for the weight, and it got it centered out pretty good. So what we're doing here now is we're going to start lowering this down so we can get sitting down on here. Now we still have to go forward a little bit. And we got to watch our fill neck. Alright, so we're hitting on this inner well right there just a little bit. Alright, well, we got it sitting on here. Looks really good from here to here. Even here to here doesn't look bad, but when you look at it at the fender, it's really bad. I think these just need more paint. I loaded a lot more coats of blue on this one this time just to see what would happen, because I wanted to make sure I had enough. These ones here, it was so hard to tell because I was painting them laying flat, but I think we just need more paint. But anyway, blue really sucks To paint, it takes a lot to cover. All right, so I forgot to get a total video of this thing installed completely back on the truck. Now I've been driving it about 2 weeks now. I think I put gas in it like twice now. I just filled it up for the second time. Everything worked out. Like it's a little, there's a little off here, but if you look here, it's actually a little off on this side too. So I think I did really good with getting everything lined up with my install on there. I didn't bother wet sanding any of this or anything. It is nicer now. Like I said, I did change this out, so when I want to do my fuel, instead of letting it hang, I can put it on my little hook. Everything's in here where it needs to be. It's very nice. I still got to take care of this stuff yet, but this truck's come a long way. Being it's now October of 2025, I think we're going to be ending up having to redo that. Like I said, I want to repaint both of these doors and maybe try to see if I can get a better mix on the paint as far as a closer match, to see what they can mix me up. And then, you know, it is what it is. I'll buy it, I'll spray it, and then maybe I'll take the time, we'll pull these all apart. We'll paint these mirrors too, because they were just chipped up. I do have the scratch guard to go across the rest of this bottom already. I've got new black OEM covers to go here and in channel visors. But overall, like, these trucks were just amazing. I would have liked to have known what it was like to have one of these from brand new. I just towed my Kubota and it did a great job. So there we go. We'll see ya.